Pam's trying to dial in too, and I guess Robert, right?
So Robert actually had to call out sick today, so just Pam. But,
All right, we're live. Go ahead.
I'm not seeing the other people.
So well.
Right.
Here we go.
all right, shall we get started?
I presume we can.
Already?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay,
The live stream is running. Go ahead and get started.
perfect. Thank you so much for having me out. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the results of our audit for the year ended March 31st, 2020 on the financial statements of the city of Rehoboth Beach. So let me ask just for my knowledge. So the audit committee have a copy of the financial statements in front of them?
No.
No, okay, that's fine.
Well,
I won't refer to.
We saw them in draft form.
Right, I just didn't know whether to say page numbers or not. So,
They were sent out.
yeah,
I'm fine. Go ahead with what you're doing.
okay, that's perfect. I just, yeah, if you had it, I would say, okay, this page number, but so I'm delighted to be here to present the results of our audit. This was a year unlike any other. Obviously, with everything going on, our audit strategy and structure was different. We performed a good portion of our work remotely, and the city was kind enough to assist in setting up a secure connection for us to be able to view certain documents embedded in their electronic systems remotely, as well as to have us on site for certain limited procedures where items either were too unwieldy to scan an email or scan and securely send, or there were particular concerns about pieces of document like certain personnel files where it made more sense to view in person. So I'm pleased to say, as a result of our audit, we've issued unmodified, clean audit opinions on the financial statements, as well as on compliance with your major federal program, which was the Clearwater revolving loan grant. It was used for the Ocean Outfall project. Additionally, I'm pleased to let you know that we did not identify any material weaknesses in internal controls, any significant deficiencies in internal controls, and no non-compliance with your major federal program. This year, our audit focus, we have a number of things we look at every year, like your major loans, your major capital assets. But this year, we also paid attention to changes in internal controls from March 2020 on. Basically, as a result of stay-at-home orders and the pandemic, we looked at the internal control processes that went into the year-end close and to those last couple of weeks of the year to understand if there were any increased risks because of changes in internal control processes or any risks that control steps were dropped. And I'm pleased to say that we did not identify any degradation in the internal control process. So an in-person signature may have been replaced with an e-signature in certain places to ensure that it was processed timely, but all the controls that were supposed to be in place were in place and continue to operate, not only in March, but also in April and May as we look at year-end cutoff procedures. So I really want to start there to let you know that we did not have any issues with that. And really, we understand that a lot of effort had to go into making it a seamless transition. So I normally save my kudos for management for the end of the presentation, but I wanted to bring that up at this point. I wanted to mention that there. I know Bert and Sharon put a lot of effort in this spring to keeping things running.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. As far as the financial numbers themselves, this was a year where the city had a pretty successful year. In the general fund, you were able to grow your fund balance by about $2 million. And it was a combination of revenues and expenses, where we saw expenses were about $1 million under budget. And there wasn't just one line item that was under budget, it was really a number of areas, which shows from our perspective that it was management cost control, as opposed to some project didn't happen, and therefore we didn't spend money. On the revenue side, things were pretty close to where budgeted as far as taxes, but you had a particularly good year in your charges for service, as well as in some of your intergovernmental and licensure revenues. And as a result, you were able to see revenues about $1.7 million over budget. I bring this up knowing that, going into April 2020, the 2020-2021 year, there was a lot of uncertainty about what the revenue picture was going to look like. So while I know that a lot of that's been answered by this point and has been relatively favorable, it was good to see that in a year, the pre-pandemic year, you were able to operate in a way that really buffeted you against potential financial issues in the year that we're in now. This was also a year where your water and sewer funds had a lot of activity, especially because the wastewater projects were wrapping up. And for the year, we saw in the water fund an increase in net position of about $1 million, whereas in the sewer fund, it was a decrease of about $500,000. And that was really driven by the increase in depreciation in the prior year as sewer assets were placed in service. The one thing we did have a recommendation on to management, and it wasn't a finding, it was just a sort of best practice looking forward recommendation, was that the inter-fund balances have grown over the last couple of years. And right now there's about a $6 million inter-fund balance between your governmental funds and your proprietary fund. Having talked with management, the intention for fiscal year 2021 is for the general fund to pay certain debt costs on behalf of the sewer fund, which is going to help draw down that outstanding interfund balance by essentially where you have a due from, it'll create a due to, and they'll net each other out. So that balance is anticipated to start drawing down in 2021. The city also intends to close out the construction fund, which was used for tracking the construction of the city hall, and now holds a deficit balance, just recognizing the amounts that were spent in excess of debt that was raised for the city hall. So that's going to be closed out in fiscal year 2021. So we feel comfortable that it's a recommendation that management received positively and will be enacted in the current year. So that is my really high level overview of the financial statements and the audit process. I'm happy to go into details on anything, any specific area you might like, but I thought I'd start by opening up for general questions.
These are the same statements we looked at in draft form, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we got our questions answered with that point, did we? I didn't have any
Yes, so
questions.
this is Pam. I finally made it on, just on my cell
Yay.
phone.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, everybody. My computer just would not cooperate, but I knew Jeff could carry it anyway. I wasn't concerned. So pretty good year for the city, given everything that everyone is dealing with. The fact that your year ended March, right? We haven't really hit the effect of coronavirus yet, although I know I had a chance to meet with Sharon and Bert a little bit last week when I dropped off the reports, and we're holding our breaths, right, for next year and next summer. So
Yes, yes.
Good
Although, we're hoping to be in better shape than we thought. So we'll see how it all plays out. a little over 6 months into it.
Right.
I have a side question.
Absolutely.
Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob, we
Yes.
hear you.
I have a side question that the project that's going on 2nd Street right now, is that completely funded by the state?
No. It's, the city's putting in, a little over, well, 400,000 and the state is 800,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to say, I don't know if it is just the nature of the projects that you have ongoing with the state or your particular negotiating skills, but the state always seems to do right by Rehoboth. They chip in more than they do in a lot of other places.
Don't say that too loud.
Exactly.
Yeah, and actually, this was one project that we had a pretty hefty capital improvement plan this year, this fiscal year in 2021. I know the highest Bert has ever seen. And because of COVID, we needed to cut back drastically. And these were not just, you know, large desires. These were
Right.
needed projects, infrastructure mainly, some equipment, but obviously, you know, we did have to cut back. One of the ones that we did not want to cut back because we would have lost that $800,000 funding was Lake Avenue Phase 2, the streetscape project.
Right.
So that stayed in there. The 400,000 from the city stayed in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot of things you do with the county as far as the water sales and all that. I was just trying to pay a compliment to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We like the compliments.
Yeah.
And is that it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the main. I wanted to make sure that I addressed any questions that the audit committee members had. So, and that doesn't, stop when this meeting ends. So if questions come up later, I'm certainly happy to make myself available to discuss or answer questions. And just wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with the audit product. Luckily, as I said, it was a very clean audit opinion. The city has taken great strides as far as getting the new accounting software up and running and working effectively. And I think that sort of the last growing pains, maybe, with some of the final accruals were adjusted this year, figuring out how to get some of the assets in service. But I think overall things are running well now, and we will see what fiscal year 2021 brings, because certainly I know that, as Pam said, your year ended right as COVID and stay-at-home restrictions were starting. So kind of watching the internal controls and making sure that they stayed in place and continued to operate effectively in fiscal year 2021 will be the big thing going forward. My expectation, based on all my working with the city, is that I would not anticipate any issues. So I think you should be in good shape going forward from what I've seen as far as subsequent testing. And yeah, I think you're in good hands.
So Bert, CAF for next year, right? I mean, don't you need a new project?
Budget award.
You're
Wanna go to
welcome.
Yeah.
Budget award. I want, I'll
Okay,
worry
you
about the cap
the
for later.
budget. Yep, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. We'll take the budget award.
I do have another
Okay.
side question, by the way. I have another side question.
Yes.
Have we had any difficulty collecting the property tax this year?
Nothing significant. It's about like it always is. You
Okay.
have a handful of stragglers, but I mean, all in all, we do pretty well on property tax.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I will let you know, and I think you'll still do fine, but a lot of what we've seen as far as property tax in 2020 is that a lot of people, use their mortgage companies to escrow the money. So a lot of the money for 2020 taxes had already been collected by those escrow companies. So we're wondering if 2021 might be where we might start to see a little dip in the collection.
Right.
So it's something
Right.
we'll keep our eye
Thank you.
on.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And just so you know, the Mayor Mills is not yet appointed a third member, but he intends to shortly for the Audit Committee.
Do they need a recommendation to vote? The committee needs to vote to approve the report and recommend it to the
Accept.
commissioners?
Accept. Yeah, you want to vote to accept it.
Yes.
You want a motion to make that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I move to accept the audit report as presented.
Seconded.
Great.
Anything else?
Everybody vote yes?
Yes,
Yes.
okay, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Have a nice
All
Thanksgiving,
right,
everyone.